With a vast library of over 1,200 events from boxing's most memorable bouts of all time, Boxing TV melds the past greats with today's promising young stars. Boxing TV is the free go-to destination for everything boxing, including classic bouts, live events, and news and information. Boxing TV is available on Local Now, Distro TV, Sports.tv, Select TV, and www.watchboxing.tv. Follow Abrams Boxing on social media at Abrams Boxing on Twitter, Abrams Boxing on YouTube, and at Marc Abrams Boxing on Instagram. Marc Abrams here, another week of the Abrams Boxing Show. We have a big show ahead for you. We have Eddie Hearn will join us later in the hour, later in the half hour, as well as debuting Steve Cunningham Jr., the son of the former two-time cruiserweight champion of the world, who will be making his pro debut July 9th in Kansas. We'll start off at WBC super flyweight champion Jesse Bam Rodriguez scored an impressive 8th-round stoppage over Saritsek at Rungvisai to retain his championship. Very impressive performance, star-making performance for Jesse Rodriguez. He dropped Rungvisai in round 7, finished him off in round 8 against a real tough former world champion who was probably thought to have would have given Rodriguez some trouble. He really didn't. Fight was stopped at 150 after Rodriguez started beating Rungvisai down. Barrage of punches, round 8. Fight was stopped there. May we see a fight later in the year between Jesse Rodriguez and maybe a Chocolatito Gonzalez? I mean, what a crossroads fight that will be. Unified W on the same card in San Antonio that was broadcast live on the Zone. Unified WBA and IBF super bantamweight champion Murajan Akhmadaliev went to 11-0, scored his 8th knockouts. He stopped last week's guest here on the Abrams Boxing Show, Ronnie Rios, in round 12 to retain his titles again in San Antonio. Akhmadaliev hurt his hand during the fight, but was able to, pretty much have his way with Rios. Scored a knockdown in the 12th round and then jumped on top of Ronnie Rios, and the fight was stopped at 206. Rios falls to 33-4. I think we may see the 4 unification fight. I mean, Stephen Fult wants it. Hopefully Akhmadaliev and his people want it. Let's make that fight happen. That'll be a tremendous fight if it does happen. Also on the card, undisputed welterweight champion Jessica Mccaskill went to 12-2. Notched her 5th stoppage as she defended her 4 belts against with a 3rd-round stoppage over Alma Ibarra. Ibarra falls to 10-2. So Mccaskill, who's ever since she beat Cecilia Braukos twice, has been really dominant and has looked really good in her several fights since then. And obviously, she's one of the top pound-for-pound women in the game, being that she is the undisputed welterweight champion. Unfortunately, on that card, McWilliams Arroyo and Julio Cesar Martinez for the WBC flyweight championship. Martinez had to pull out. So I think the 2nd or 3rd time that fight was canceled. So unfortunately, that fight didn't happen. Raymond Ford remained undefeated. The featherweight moved up onto the beginning of the card. He defeated Richard Medina, who was 13-0 at the time, now 13-1, with a 10-round unanimous decision. Scores were 190 twice and 99-91 for Raymond Ford. Other fight results last week, WBO light flyweight champion Jonathan Bamba Gonzalez scored a 12-round unanimous decision over Marc Barrigo. Gonzalez now 26-3-1 with 14 knockouts. That took place at the Osceola Heritage Park in Kissimmee, Florida. Was streamed live on Pro Box TV. Scores were 115, 113, 117, 111, 20. He controlled some of the fight early, as he did with Gonzalez, who's we said now 26-3-1, showed his veteran moxie, his veteran savvy, was able to ease himself back into the fight and pull away down the stretch. Also on Saturday, WBC light flyweight eliminator, former world champions Hecky Butler and Elwin Soto met with Butler, a 12-round unanimous decision by score of 113 twice. The difference of the fight was a knockdown in round 12 that Butler had on Soto when Soto's glove hit the ground, and that got the victory for Butler. That fight was streamed live on ESPN Plus. from Guadalajara. Was it Guadalajara, Mexico? Actually, Mexicali, Mexico. I apologize. And also earlier in the week, 341 pounds, Jarrell, real big baby Miller, came back to win a first fight in 4 years, win a unanimous decision over Esteban Bracamonte. And Miller, he looked terrible. I mean, let's just say what it is. He looked terrible physically. He did not look good in the ring. I don't know if it's just the first fight back. I know he's going to get a fight scheduled in Tennessee coming up real soon. So Jarrell Big Baby Miller is back to the whole swing of things in terms of the heavyweight division. Earlier this week, I had a chance to I was at the Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin press conference in New York and see some of the video footage, the coverage, the press conference itself, interviews with, roundtable media interviews with both Canelo and Gennady Golovkin are on the Abrams Boxing YouTube page, Abrams Boxing social media. So hopefully fans can go check that out this week. But I had a chance to talk to the man putting the show on himself, Mr. Eddie Hearn. And this is what Eddie had to say about not only that fight, but all things Matchroom. Here with Eddie Hearn. First of all, Eddie, the Stones are on tour, McCartney's on tour, but I think your world tour trumps things.
Yeah, back to London tonight. It's been a long run.
For how long?
Just a few days. Got Chisora Pulev coming up next week, so big show in London, and this has been a great run. Australia, incredible. Saudi Arabia for the press tour, here for the press tour. Great show on Saturday. Bam Rodriguez, unbelievable, and ready for a great run of fights.
Well, great run of fights. Obviously, we're here for September 17th. Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. I know when the Zone started, another entity said that they were going to bring this fight to the Zone. It didn't happen. How does it feel for you now to finally make this third fight for the Zone?
Amazing. It's probably the biggest fight in boxing. A lot of people for a long time now question the validity of the Zone or the credibility of the Zone. Those people really need to just stop already. For a long time they've been doing great things. I think by far the best platform for boxing in the US, in the UK, in the world, the ultimate destination for fight fans. Nothing's ever been done like this before globally in the sport of boxing, and I think they need the credit. And to bring this fight to the Zone was obviously a major moment for Matchroom Boxing. Why do you think in the last couple of years, especially since the second fight with Canelo, I feel there's been disrespect placed on Golovkin, and all he's done is won. The Derevyanchenko fight, he struggled a little bit, but he's done Triple G things in every fight since then. He just went to Japan to unify, and great performance. So, but he's a legend of the sport, and it's going to be a tremendous fight. Both guys, talking about just not taking a backward step. I believe you'll get the best of the three fights, September 17th.
Do you think he's been disrespected the last couple of years?
No, not really. The fight fans are very fickle, aren't they? It's like with the Bivol fight with Golovkin. All of a sudden, he's no longer the pound-for-pound number one, and he's got the spring in his step, and he wants to put a great performance in.
Have you seen? I know you've worked with Canelo the last couple of years. Have you ever seen the fire that he has?
I mean, look, the Saunders fight, he was digged by Saunders, but he was very calm. This is different. He's got a real personal thing with Gennady Golovkin, and he wants to retire him. He wants to knock him out. He said he'll only be happy if he knocks him out in this fight.
A few quick things, non-Canelo Golovkin, like you mentioned, Bam Rodriguez, could be the next big star, especially of the smaller weight division.
It doesn't matter the size, he's willing to fight anybody. He's a tremendous fighter. Everybody's talking about him, and we want to get him back in the ring as soon as possible.
Do you see Estrada Chocolatito in his near distant
I've asked Estrada, about the Chocolatito fight. I think Bam Rodriguez against Chocolatito is one of the greatest fights of our generation. You've got a legend of the sport against a future legend of the sport. It's such a great fight, but you've also got to remember the kid's 22. So let's see. We've got to, guide him in the right way, Robert Garcia. But he's fearless and he's brilliant.
And you already alluded to Chisora Pulev. That can't help to be.
That's going to be a great fight. Let's hope we get him in the ring and not punching each other at the press conference. But it's going to be a thriller. July 9th, 02. Really looking forward to it.
Derek Chisora, he's like the boogeyman. He
just loves to fight. He's a very good heavyweight. I know people are saying he's coming off losses. He lost to Joseph Parker and Alexander Usyk in his last two fights. So of course, he's fighting the best guys in the division, and Pulev's a very, very good heavyweight, so it's a tough fight.
Eddie, thank you for a few minutes. We'll see you along the way.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
There was the man, Eddie Hearn, who is putting on the big show on September 17th with Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin. He mentioned that the Pulev and Chisora fight, Jesse Rodriguez, he put a cap on that, and we'll be hearing some more shows both in Australia and the United States and Italy and Spain and England. So big things being done by Matchroom Boxing as they go forward. A couple fights this week. It's obviously July 4th weekend here in the United States. Nothing really huge in that regard. So we'll just get an IBF Cruiserweight champion. Myris Briedis defends his title against Jai Optaia. Briedis 28-1 with 20 knockouts. Optaia 21, 17 knockouts. That fight will take place in Australia. ESPN Plus will televise at 5 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. Then later in the day, ESPN Plus will be televising, will be streaming Joe Joyce getting back in the ring. The big heavyweight, 13-0, 12 knockouts. He's coming off about a 1-year layoff as he takes on Christian Hammer. Hammer 27-9, 17 knockouts. Hammer seems to be that guy who's just always on standby. I think he did that against Frank Sanchez, I believe, for New Year's Day. And now he'll be in London Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time to take on the WBO number 1 ranked contender in the world, Joe Joyce. Speaking of world champions, I had a real brief opportunity to speak to the son of the former cruiserweight world champion, Steve USS Cunningham, and we mentioned Briedis being a world champion. So his son Steve Jr. is about to embark on his pro career and turn professional. And this is the brief conversation that me and Young Jr., as we call him, Steve Cunningham Jr., had after the fights Friday night in Philadelphia. Debuting in a couple months, July 9th, actually less than a couple months. Steve Cunningham Jr., the tugboat. July 9th, it looks like in Kansas.
Yo, Wichita, Kansas, man. I'm going at it. You know what I'm saying? Been ready, man. I've been waiting a long time for this. Let's go.
You were supposed to debut on May the 6th, but things fell through. You actually went out to Las Vegas?
Yeah, I was supposed to fight in Vegas on the Sons of Legends card, but we sent the commissioner fighter after fighter, and they kept turning them down, saying my amateur career is too crazy, which isn't. I only have under 100 fights, so it's really not that crazy. But yeah, that's what happened. So we got this coming up.
So it's like what we do. Kansas, maybe a couple fights around this area. You're hoping?
Yeah, after Kansas, I'm gonna be in Pittsburgh and I'm gonna be in Philly, going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be turning it up, man. PA all day. Yes, sir.
Do you know an opponent yet? Or?
Nah, I don't know an opponent, man. I'm just training to be in the best I can, in the best shape I can be in.
Anything you want to say to the fans in closing?
Just tune in, man, and get ready for this ship because it's taking off, man. Yes, sir.
Steve Cunningham Jr. We'll see your pro debut July 9th in Wichita.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There he has it, Steve Cunningham Jr., the tugboat. I actually gave him the nickname. Obviously, I go way back with the family, and he used to come over to my house with his father and mother, and he was a little kid. He was 3-4 years old. Now he's turning professional. Makes us feel old now. I mean, it's crazy that Steve Cunningham Jr. is going to be a professional boxer on July the 9th. And I've seen some sparring footage. Kid can fight. So we'll track and follow the career of Steve Cunningham Jr. as it takes off. Some other news and notes. On July 9th, Marc Mccaskill will take on Ray Vargas for the WBC featherweight title. It's a pretty stacked card, and I believe I'm going to be talking to some of the fighters on the card soon. The telecast will feature Brandon Figueroa, 22-1-1, 17 knockouts, making his featherweight debut, taking on Carlos Castro, 27-1, 12 knockouts, in a WBC featherweight bout. And that would be the co-feature. And also Frank Martin, looking lightweight, 15-0, 11 knockouts, takes on Ricardo Nunez, former world title challenger, 23-3, 21 knockouts. They also, Showtime will also be kicking off a couple of good fights on their YouTube channel before the fights on July 9th. We'll see Rashidi Ellis, 23-0, 14 knockouts, make his PBC debuts. He takes on Alberto Palmetta. Palmetta 17-1 with 12 knockouts. Also, 10-round bantamweight fight between Roman Cardenas, 20-1, 10 knockouts, against Mitchell Pahorkas, 21, 14 knockouts. So, full night of boxing, July 9th on Showtime. Should be an excellent card. I'm looking forward to it. Although I'll be in Philadelphia broadcasting with RDR Promotions. We'll get more into that card next week. The September 4th fight, which was announced last week, we touched on Andy Ruiz against King Kong Luis Ortiz. September 4th in the Crypto.com arena in Las Vegas. It has an undercard. It's very interesting. The co-feature will pit former world title challenger Isaac Cruz, 23-2-1 with 16 knockouts, take on Eduardo Ramirez, 22-2-3, 12 knockouts in a WBC elimination bout. And that's interesting. Ramirez, we just saw fight at 130 pounds on the Gervonta Davis card. He's moving up. He's been on a roll. He's moving up in weight to take on Isaac Cruz with Battle of Mexican Warriors. Should be an outstanding fight. Also on the card will be the return of former three-division world champion Abner Maris, 31-3, 115 knockouts. He's taken his first fight in 3 years. He takes on Miguel Flores, former world title challenger in his own right, 24-4, 12 knockouts. That's a 10-round fight in the super featherweight division. Also, kicking off the pay-per-view card will be a lightweight prospect, good lightweight prospect. We just mentioned Frank Martin. This guy is right there with him. Martin, it's going to be great to watch Martin and Jose Valenzuela, their progress in the lightweight division. Two excellent young fighters. Valenzuela, 12-0, 8 knockouts. He'll take on former 130-pound world champion Jezreel Corrales. Corrales, 26-4, 10 knockouts. That will open up the pay-per-view card on September 4th. As we mentioned, and I was in New York, the Saul Alvarez Gennady Golovkin fight will take place September 17th. That will be at the T-Mobile Arena, live on the DAZN pay-per-view. They just announced the venue late last week, so that will be live on the DAZN pay-per-view. Showtime Sports announced another pay-per-view event, August the 6th. Jake Paul take on Tommy Fury, and Amanda Serrano defending her featherweight, unified featherweight titles against Brenda Carbajal, Carabajal. But there was supposed to be a press conference on Wednesday in New York. Fury could not get into the country. There has been no official word. There's been speculation that it could be because of associations, or maybe his brother's associations to Daniel Kinahan. I don't know what the story is, but Tommy Fury was not at Wednesday's press conference. Like, they postponed the press conference. So, keep a lookout, 15rounds.com, over, what's going to happen on August 6th in New York involving Jake Paul. King's Promotions last week announced the addition of Hall of Famer Christy Martin to be their director of operations. Great hire by Marshall Kaufman. Christy Martin can do so much for a promotional group, not only because she was a great fighter in the ring, things that she's gone on with her life outside the ring, plus mentorship she can give to up-and-coming young fighters. So she will be doing that, and she'll be just doing everything with Marshall Kaufman. Christy's promotional company, Christy Martin Promotions, will kind of take a little back seat or step to the side, and some of the fighters will be immersed into King's Promotions. Unified WBC WBO 130-pound world champion Shakur Stevenson will defend his title against Robson Conceição, 17-1, 8 knockouts on September 20. I believe September 23rd is the working day for that. Probably taking place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Shakur's, I know, fought there once. So that should be a pretty good crowd. The champion coming home in Newark. And also, former world champion, 4-division world champion, Mikey Garcia, has announced his retirement. Garcia put on his Instagram page, retired world champ, 126, 130, 135, and 140. So if this is it, and you know how retirements go in the world of boxing, I don't know if this will or will not be. We shall see what the future holds for Mikey Garcia. So if his congratulations on a great career. If I had a glass, I would raise it for you, Mikey. But congratulations on a fine career. Well, that's our show for this week. I'd like to thank Eddie Hearn and Steve Cunningham Jr. for joining us this week. And we have more great guests lined up for next week. So hopefully everyone here in the United States has a great and safe 4th of July weekend. For Marc Abrams, I am Marc Abrams. Why am I saying for Marc Abrams? I am Marc Abrams. Again, tune into Abrams Boxing on YouTube, Abrams Boxing on where is Abrams Boxing? Abrams Boxing on Twitter, Abrams Boxing on Facebook, Abrams Boxing on YouTube, and Marc Abrams Boxing on Instagram. Thank you and have a great week.